Hello everybody, it's Kadzowe. And so take a look at my hairstyle and you see those intricate woven designs on there. Look at how slick that is. That, my friends, is what we call microbraids. Well, they're not really micro, but they're tiny enough for me. And so what if I told you that my hairstyle today is made in celebration of the history of who we are? Now, I know a lot of you will hang up on the color. Trust me. When I tell you that African people have experimented with all hair colors, it's going to blow your mind. This is not an issue of blonde versus black. This is an issue of the history of our hair, the history of black hair. If you're interested in this information, including learning about this intricate design I have, stay tuned. So folks, I'll start off with telling you a little bit about the foundations of our hair as Black people, as African people, people of African descent, or if you have African ancestry and really possess the hair that we have. You know what's really great about our history is that hair was actually used to define moments. So hair was used and dressed according to the age, according to the marital status of the woman and men, and according to, their stage of life. And so in learning about our hair growing up, that was the basic foundation. The other thing I'll quickly talk about in terms of what's been used for thousands and thousands of generations in taking care of our hair, there are three main products that are still used today, but they have nourished our hair for generations. It is black soap, African shea butter, and coconut oil. And it's so interesting because growing up, I remember my dad would always use coconut oil. In fact, my tribe of the Giriama people, we are by the coast, and so we have a lot of like coconut trees and palm trees, and that's where coconuts are from. And so it's interesting how the nourishment of that has actually been used to nourish our hair for generations to come. So the first hairstyle I'll talk about when it comes to celebrating or learning about our hair is cornrows. Do you know that cornrows originated from Ethiopia? Cornrows, or Albaso braids, as the Ethiopians would call them, are the most intricate and the most woven design in a lot of African countries and origins and ethnicities. The Ethiopians lead the way with this with the Ethiopian braids or the Albaso braids. And so cornrows were commonly used by both men and women. They were used, it's a youthful style. So remember when I talked about how hair is used to really define a moment? So cornrows are really the expression of youth and charisma and drive. And so I'm going to quickly show you a quick clip of the origins of cornrows, and you'll be able to see how the Ethiopians were able to weave this into the design that we, from all walks of life, inherit today. The second most popular style that is used in Black hair, African hair, when we talk about ancestry, is the Bantu knots. Bantu knots actually originated in South Africa, and these are actually worn mostly by the Zulu women of South Africa. And it's an intricate design that has been used and has actually gravitated its way all throughout Africa, and even particularly in the West. A lot of women absolutely love the Bantu knots. In terms of defining what the Bantu knots are used, these are actually used as a way to embrace a maturing woman, a single woman who is of age and about to be married. Isn't that interesting? So in the Zulu tradition, the reason why they originated with the Bantu knots at that particular stage of life was to be able to really showcase that this woman was ready to move on into the next stage of life and to be able to really build a home. And so the next time you get Bantu knots, now you know the meaning. The third hairstyle I'll talk about in Black hair history is dreadlocks. Yes, would you believe that dreadlocks originated from India and God Shiva is the one that actually wore dreadlocks for the first time? Well, yes. And actually what is really interesting is that the pharaohs of Egypt really, really liked that look, I guess, and what it stood for. And so they started wearing dreadlocks. And obviously when the pharaohs of Egypt started wearing dreadlocks, then it trickled down into other parts of Africa. In particular, in Kenya, the Maasai wear the dreadlocks. And what is fascinating about dreadlocks is that they are the vision of power. They are the vision of drive. They are the vision of warrior mentality. And so it's a very, very powerful look to have dreads. And it's amazing when you learn about the history of the warriors, especially the Maasai. They would actually get their dreadlocks grown, and that's a sign of warriorhood and how far that they have come in their time as men. When a Maasai warrior with his dreadlocks walked in, the longer the dreadlocks, the longer the lifespan of what it is like to serve the community. Isn't that amazing? Powerful when you think about it. And the last African hairstyle I will talk about is what I am wearing: braids, microbraids, different kinds of braids. There's all types of braids. And you know what's interesting about braids, everybody? It is a sign of wealth and class. And the reason is actually quite simple. Do you know how long it takes for you to get braids in your hair? Mine actually took 6 hours to do. So just to give you an example of how long it takes. But in historical terms, the person that used to actually make the braids was somebody who would go into royalty. And this was a sign of royalty because if you have the luxury to get your hair done with braids, then obviously you have the wealth and the class and the privilege to be able to do just that. Remember, this was also during the agrarian age, and people didn't really have time because they had to go work out in the field. So you couldn't have your hair in micros doing that. And so it was really just for the wealthy. So next time you have your micro braids done, walk with class. Hopefully you find what I've had to share really empowering and something that will help you look at hair differently. So, what will your next hairstyle be? Until my next video, everybody. Bye.